Everyone. Hello, Willow. Can you hear me? Oh, Willow's recommending rat burger. How would you describe rat burger in 3 words, Willow? Sell it to us in 3 words. Let's just think about that. Think about it. Won't you think it over, please? Oh, you can hear me. Lovely. Sorry, I was just trying to. Can you see there's a glare on the board? I was trying to work out where that's coming from. Because it was so annoying, but never mind. How is everyone today? How are you? It's Empathy Day today. I'm going to talk a little bit about Empathy Day in a bit and tell you what's going on and what it's all about. And then we've got some poems to hear, and then we're going to have a go at doing some poems as well. We'll just wait a few minutes. We'll have a little catch up. What have you all been up to? Hello, Mum and Dad. Oh, Willow, great and horribly fantastic is Willow's review of Rat Burger. Oh, brilliant. I'm trying to think of some other books that you might like, Willow. Oh, I tell you what you'd like. Um, Let me find it. Ah, that's it. So it's by Anthony Horowitz. It's a series and it's called Gruesham Grange. Um, I'll write it up here for you. Um, but if you like Rat Burger, this is equally as spooky and ridiculous and gross and funny. Gruesome Grange. So that might be a recommendation for you. Hello, Emily. How are you? Are you okay? Nice to see you all. Nice to see you. To see you. Nice. What's everyone been up to? Let me know in the comments box before we get started. Oh, lovely, Neil. I'm going to read that one out as well. I've got 4 poems now to read out. And a little writing workshop linked to Sue Hardy-Dawson. So we've got a poem from Liz Brownlee, a poem from Coral Rumble, a poem from Paul Jenkins, and now we've got a poem from Mr. Neil Zetter for our Empathy Day celebrations. So we'll get started in a second. Actually, we might as well just start now. Let's get cracking, shall we? So it's Empathy Day today. And you might be thinking, what on earth is Empathy Day? What's it all about? Well, if you have a look on the Reading Realm group or the Facebook page, I've put a link on there to the Empathy Lab. And they run a special day every year called Empathy Day. And empathy is all about our ability to understand another person and feel their actions and feel their emotions. And what Empathy Day aims to do is help us to understand other people's feelings by promoting books, so picture books and other type of books that are going to challenge us to try and empathize, sympathize and understand with other people. Okay, So it says Empathy Day helps us understand each other better by using books to step into someone else's shoes. When you read, your brain reacts as it would to real events. This makes books a perfect empathy boosting vehicle. Train your brain with stories. And when we're talking about books, we mean picture books, poetry books, non-fiction books, all sorts of books that can help us understand other people's realities. Okay? So that's what Empathy Day is all about. And if you go to empathylab.uk, there's a website of events and things on there. So I'll just read out some of the things that are happening today over on Empathy Lab, which you may enjoy. I'll just get the picture up that I had. Oh, so disorganized. Right, let's have a look. Technology. I had it all planned, all prepared, all ready. Aha, here we go. So, at 11:30, there's a poetry challenge. At 12 o'clock, the wonderful Mallory Blackman is doing a talk about empathy glasses. And then 1:30 to 2:30, Joe Cottrell and Robin Stevens, who writes the Murder Most Unladylike series, are doing some exercises and some ideas. And then at 2 o'clock, there's the poet Joseph Quaylo. And then in the afternoon, there's other things going on, and all into the evening as well. There's talks and activities and all sorts. And you can join in on social media by just following the hashtag Empathy Day. Okay? And there's lots of activities and things for kids to do on there. So you might fancy doing that today. Shall we hear some poems then? Some empathy based poems that challenge us to use our phones properly so we can get up what we need. That challenge us to see other people's realities. This first one is by Coral Rumble. And she has got a book coming out soon called Riding a Lion, and it looks fabulous. She's such a wonderful poet, Coral Rumble. But this one is called My Name. Okay, so you might just want to sit back and listen and enjoy it. You might want to close your eyes as I read it. Maybe have a think about what are you feeling as you hear the words being read to you. Okay, so this is My Name by Coral Rumble. Grandma says she knows my name, and my picture's in her photo frame. Sometimes my name is just mislaid, like glasses, pens, or hearing aid. Sometimes she searches for a while, touches my lip, traces my smile, then tells a tale I've heard before about a party dress she wore. Sometimes she thinks I'm someone else. Dad says, "Now, don't upset yourself." And in her eyes I see the spaces she tries to fill with familiar faces. Her memories have gathered dust. She doesn't quite know who to trust. Some days she stares, some days she cries. And when she does, I wipe her eyes. Grandma says she knows my name, just not at the moment when I came to see her, but she hasn't lied. I know my name is locked inside. So there you go. That's lovely. How did you feel? How did that poem make you feel? It's quite sad, isn't it, when we have older people in our life and their memory begins to go, maybe due to dementia, and we feel like they don't know us anymore. And that's about a narrator whose grandma seems to have forgotten their name. So how did that make you feel? Maybe type a few words in the comments box. How did you feel while you were read that poem? It ends on quite a lovely note of hope, doesn't it? Maybe. She says she knows my name, just not at the moment when I came to see her, but she hasn't lied. I know my name is locked inside. So it could be the idea that the name is still there and that's hopeful, or that idea that it's locked inside and might never come out. So it made some of us sad, maybe happy and sad towards the end. All those special memories that Grandma's remembering, maybe. But it's interesting. No one in my family, touch wood, has experienced that. So it's not something that I have experienced myself, but I'm trying to put myself in the narrator's shoes. And that's what empathy is all about. We're trying to think, how would other people feel in this situation? Okay, shall we read another one then? This is by the lovely Liz Brownlee, and she has got a new poetry book out. It's not out till May 2021. It's not out till next year, but she said that we could read this especially for today. And the poetry book is going to be called Being Me, Poems About Thoughts, Worries and Feelings. And as I said, it's not published till next year, but we've got a special sneak preview of it today. And this is another one that you might have experienced this situation before, or you might not have done. Very different one, this one. It's called Arguing by Liz Brownlee. They aren't angry with me, they say. I am no part of it. But they are part of me. Part of me is each of them. And every time their voices slam, scream mean words, they take a part of who I am. So it's called Arguing. Who could be arguing, I wonder? Who's narrating that poem? Who's the narrator? We have to be really careful. When we're talking about poems, we have to be very careful when we say, what is the poet writing about? What is the poet? Who is the poet writing about? And we also need to think about, is it a narrator? Because I get the feeling that the person narrating this poem from their point of view is perhaps a bit younger. They aren't angry with me, they say. I am no part of it, but they are parts of me. Part of me is each of them. And every time their voices slam, scream mean words, they take a part of who I am. Maybe a younger person who's in the middle of people arguing. Maybe mum and dad are arguing, or mum and mum are arguing, dad and dad are arguing, maybe. We don't know, do we? But the layout of the poem's interesting, that, but they are me, but they are part of me is each of them. That sort of almost symmetry and reflection going on there. So that's another one, isn't it? How did that one make you feel? Pop in the comments box. How did you feel listening to that one? Which one did you prefer? Did you prefer the first one about Grandma's memories? Or did you prefer the second one, Arguing? Why did you prefer it? Perhaps there are things that you can just think about. Another thing that's really interesting to do, and this is a top tip for any teachers watching, it's really great when we've got two poems like that, where we've got Arguing by Liz Brownlee and we've got My Name by Coral Rumble, to use a Venn diagram to see how the poems are similar but also how they're different. Yeah? So we can pick out things like the layout of them. Is it a thin poem? Is it a wide poem? The font used, colours used, themes, language. Okay, so that's a really good activity to do when you're exploring poetry. Just a little quick side tip for anyone watching who feels like it. Okay, we've got another one now. This is by the lovely Paul Jenkins. who's actually quite heavily involved in organising Empathy Day. Um, and this is his one. It's called Comic Con Love Story. Ooh, a love story. Ooh. This is for any comic book fans out there. Comic Con Love Story by Paul Jenkins. A Marvel kid in a DC world. He knew that he'd struggle to get the girl. What would she see in a boy like him? Sure, he had webs and a cool pseudonym, but she was a goddess with a lasso of truth. Her story was timeless, he just a youth. How could he start to even dare to imagine a world where she'd notice and care? But she leant in and whispered, "Listen, kid, don't be rash. Yes, we're different. Our realities clash. And yeah, it's a twist that no writer could see. But boy, listen up. You're a hero to me." That's a good one. I think there's in the comic book world, there's always that sort of tension between whether you like DC or Marvel. I never know which one's which. One of them's Spider-Man, one of them's Batman. Okay, but two people from across the void, one a Marvel kid, one a DC fan, and they're coming together. It's like a comic book version of Romeo and Juliet. I quite like that one. It's very hopeful at the end. She leans over and whispered, "Listen, kid, don't be rash. Yes, we're different. Our realities clash. And yeah, it's a twist that no writer could see. But boy, listen up. You're a hero to me." That one's a bit more uplifting. Yes, indeed, it is, isn't it? I know nothing about the Marvel and DC things at all. Um, but yeah, there you go. Apparently, people take it very seriously. Okay, we've got one final one, a last minute one from Mr. Neil Zetter from his website CCCCCCCCCP. No, it's just CCCP workshops. Confidence in communication through comedy poetry. This one is called Butterflies, and it's all about being nervous and having butterflies in your stomach. Have you heard that saying before, when we have butterflies in our stomach? I've had them all morning because of something that's going on. So exciting! Anyway, butterflies. My teacher says, "You've got butterflies in your stomach. What should I do? Rush to the hospital, the vet, the zoo? Did caterpillars crawl inside me first? With that unpleasant thought, my discomfort grows worst. They're flitting, they're flapping, they're fluttering about, so I'm keeping my mouth open in the hope that they will fly out." I love that. It's interesting, isn't it? We might say to children like, "Oh, you've got butterflies in your tummy," but perhaps we need to be a bit clearer about our feelings and emotions there. Like, you've got butterflies in your tummy, that sort of fluttering feeling when you feel nervous. I wonder how many children think, "Butterflies in my tummy." Let's just read it again because I messed up the first time a little bit. Not that anyone would notice, but you might have done. My teacher says, "Oh, you've got butterflies in your stomach. What should I do? Rush to the hospital, the vet, the zoo? Did caterpillars crawl inside me first? With that unpleasant thought, my discomfort grows worse. They're flitting, they're flapping, they're fluttering about, so I'm keeping my mouth open in the hope that they will fly out." Lovely. Thank you for that one. Butterflies in my tummy. And again, what's what's really interesting, what you can do, and actually, if you're a teacher watching it and catching up later, it's really interesting to get two poems that are seemingly completely different and then try and compare and contrast them and pick out those themes. So if we took, for example, Neil Zetter's Butterflies poem and compared it and contrasted it to Coral Rumble's My Name, we might think, oh, they're not similar at all. One's about memories, one's about feeling nervous and is a bit more humorous. But when we start to unpick it a little bit more, I'm thinking off the top of my head here, as anyone that's seen me teach will know. Um, but if you think about it, both of these poems are told from a child's perspective, aren't they? So the narrator is quite similar in that way. We've got one who doesn't understand um, the feelings that they're experiencing. I've got butterflies in my tummy. Have caterpillars crawled in there? What does that mean? And we've got another one who doesn't understand what's happening to their grandma. Why is she not remembering my name? That sort of thing. So actually, they're quite similar in terms of the narrator voice and the point of view. How else are those poems similar? Anyone got any other ideas? How are those poems similar? We've got those butterflies, and then we've got Grandma not remembering my name. Grandma says she knows my name, and my picture's in her photo frame. We could also think about, when we're comparing poems, we can think about the rhyme scheme. Is it similar at all? Yeah? How else are those poems similar? How else are they different? We might say that that butterfly one, is more of an amusing and humorous take on feelings, and we might say that my name is perhaps a little bit sadder, maybe. That doesn't mean one's better than the other. It means that they're different in terms of perhaps how we read them, maybe, our feelings when we read them, possibly. So that's some ideas to think about when you're looking at poetry. Um, you can explore things like rhyme, themes, point of view, narration, all of those things, and compare and contrast them. Okay? Really good thing to do. Okay, on we move then. We move on from Empathy Day and looking at feelings to a lovely activity. And this activity comes from, oh, sorry, let me just get it up. A website called Poetry Roundabout. Now, Poetry Roundabout. They have got on there, it's such a good resource for teachers and children. They've got on their poetry reviews, lesson ideas, articles written by children's poets, blog ideas, art activities, all sorts of things. So teachers, children, go and have a look on Poetry Roundabout. I believe it's mainly run by Liz Brownlee, who's a children's poet. And I saw this activity last week, and I spoke to Sue Hardy-Dawson and Liz Brownlee and said, could I possibly borrow that for the reading realm? And this activity is called Words Grow on Trees. I was always told that money doesn't grow on trees. However, this activity is called Words Grow on Trees. And it puts together art and poetry. So if you want to join in with us, you can grab a pencil. You can grab a pencil and a pen, or and some paper as well. If you're watching it back later, you can pause now. And go and grab a pen and pencil. That would be a really good idea. I've discovered that lots of people watch this later. Our last poetry one had something like over 6,000 people viewing it. Poor people is all I can say. But there we go. Willow says, I love poems. Yes, let's hope so. So words grow on trees. Now, step one of this activity, we're going to be creating some poetry art. But step one of this activity is, and we can do it together or you can do it, is to create a mind map of language and words linked to a tree. And we're going to look at the roots of the tree. Okay, so you might want to write that down if you're following along. I know some classes watch this later on. You might want to write down as well the trunk. We've got the branches. Oh, am I going to fit that on? Yeah. And then we've got the leaves, maybe the flowers, the blossom as well. Okay, so we're going to think about 4 verses for our poem. Okay, and this is our first one to think about. So all we're going to do is see if we can think about lots of words to do with roots. How would you describe the roots of a tree? Any ideas? Any ideas? Feel free to pop some in. So it might be like twisting fingers, maybe, like the roots that seep out into the soil. So let's start us off then. Twisting fingers. Any other descriptions for roots? Type it in the box if you've got some ideas. Roots. Some roots are very, very thin, aren't they? So it might be like thin as hair or something. Strong. Yes, we often think of roots, obviously, have to be very strong and deep into the soil, don't they? Any other ideas for thinking of how we could describe? You could have them like, if you wanted to paint more of a negative picture, you could have them like claws sort of creeping out into the soil and spreading, maybe. So all we're doing is just thinking of any verbs, adjectives, any language that we can think of linked to roots. Okay, let's move on then. What about, oh, a twisted face as long as a snake? Great for those roots. Write them down if you're doing it. You can always pause the video if you're watching later and brainstorm some ideas for roots. Let's have a think about then the trunk. That sort of more sturdy and thick trunk. So I'm going to put down sturdy, thick. What else could we have for that trunk? Cylindrical. Might be like gnarled. That word gnarled is a great word. Gnarled. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Gnarled. Great minds think alike. What else? Brown. Muddy, cut, cracked. It might be. They might be cracked. What other ideas have we got for the trunk? Cracked. It might be leathery. Maybe might have broken bits of broken bits on it. Maybe. So you might describe it sort of like as cracked, dry skin. Oh, unyielding giant. I love that. I'm going to pop that down. What was it? Unyielding giant. Okay, love it. What about branches then as we move out to the side? The branches. Maybe you might have them like fingers or something. Or we've got twisting fingers. Branches. Have a think. A really good activity, of course, to do if you are watching it later is having a pause and then going outside, maybe in your garden, maybe on the school field, and seeing if you can find some trees and look at each part as well. Okay, so help me because I'm inspirationally parched today. Looming branches, like they're hanging over. Oh, hanging, looming. Hanging, looming, they could be waving, I suppose, couldn't they, as well, if it was more that sort. I don't know why I was going for a frightening tree, but they could be waving and hanging, perhaps. The branches, waving, hanging. Great ideas. Any other ideas for those branches? They might be like interwoven like that, keeping out the moonlight or something, or thatched or something like that. As sharp as a claw, like daggers, maybe. Something like that, maybe. Claws, sharp. Let's write all your ideas down. And then finally, the last bit that we think about is those leaves. So, what might the leaves, what could we have for leaves? Any words? Well, they rustle. They provide shade. They might be green. They might be curved. What else can we think for those leaves? Flirting with the breeze. Oh, indeed, those branches flirting and... Oh dear. We never talked together, did we? Miss Cowie Jr. It would have been fun. What else have we got then for those leaves? Maybe like veined. You know, they look like that, don't they? And then sort of like that. You like emerald green. They might be sparkling, fluttering in the breeze. Yes, that sort of thing. Yeah. So this is step one for our poetry. Mrs. Oh, I thought it was Mrs. C Junior. I didn't realise it was Mrs. C Senior. Gracious me. So, step one in doing your words grow on trees activity is to create that mind map of words. What you could also do if you were expanding this out a little bit more is go outside and do some drawing, some observational drawing of each part, roots, trunk, branch. Roots might be difficult. Sometimes they're above ground, but leaves, different shaped leaves, getting some art that way in as well. Okay? A long pointy nose, says Willow. Are you describing my nose, or is that linked to the tree? Should I be insulted? I don't know. Anywho, that's step one, okay? Now I'm going to move on, but if you're rewatching, you can always stop it here. Step two is to then think about each verse in your tree, okay? Now I'm going to split my page in half, just so I can write the 4 verses up. I'm so confused. Stop it, Claire. Okay. So, visually, we want to think about moving upwards. So we're going to start with the roots. We're going to go to the trunk. We're going to go to the branches, then to the leaves. Okay? So, we can start with words grow on trees from gnarled roots. We're describing the roots first of all. Yep, everyone got that? So words grow on trees from gnarled roots. Fingers stretching into the dark, damp earth. Yeah? So again, if you're rewatching it back, you might want to pause it, write a verse about the roots. So my one is, words grow on trees from gnarled roots, fingers stretching into the dark, damp earth. What I'm just going to do when I'm practicing my writing, um, I might just think about this bit here because now that I'm reading it aloud, and that reading aloud is really vital when we're writing poetry, I'm thinking fingers stretching into the deep, dark earth might sound better than dark, damp earth. So I might play around with that and think what sounds better. Is it damp, dark earth? Does that sound better? Does deep, dark earth sound better? Does dark, deep earth sound better? Okay, so all of those things I'm considering when I'm writing. Okay, the next thing that I'm going to write about. Oh no, not the branches. Oh my goodness. No, no, no. Is the trunk. So I'm going to leave a little space here. Okay, because this was my first verse. Okay, so trunk. I'm going to say the trunk is sturdy. The trunk is sturdy. Anything else I could say about the trunk? Any ideas? The trunk. The trunk is sturdy, reaching up from the darkness or something, or the trunk is sturdy, its skin cracked. Maybe. Oh, we've had a suggestion. I do love a suggestion. We could have a deep, dark, and damp, and have a group of three. The deep, dark, damp earth. Yes, possibly. Any ideas about a trunk? The trunk is sturdy, solid. Yeah, I feel actually I might just have the trunk is sturdy, solid, and then one more line. The trunk is sturdy, solid, supporting. What does the trunk do? Supporting, lifting. So, Sue Hardy Dawson's idea is my tree has a fat trunk, bark leathery and cracked as elephant skin. That's brilliant, isn't it? So she starts off with words grow on trees from knotted roots like coiled ropes round ancient bones. My tree has a fat trunk, bark leathery and cracked as elephant skin. Let's have the trunk is sturdy, solid, twisted, and cracked like ancient skin. Okay, so this is my first verse. This is my second verse. I'm going to have to write so small. What's next then? We are looking at the branches next. So let's read what Sue Hardy Dawson writes about those branches, shall we? Long, strong branches that can hold the moon. Lovely. Long, strong branches that can hold the moon. You might have something like long, strong branches that I swing from. Okay, now what was that idea we had earlier? I always like to bring in other people's ideas, mainly because they're better than me. Flirting with the breeze. Waving in the breeze. I think that the waving notion would be quite a nice comparison to the sturdy, solid trunk, maybe. So let's have branches waving quietly in the hazy sunshine. and breeze. Okay, and then our final one is thin fingers dangling down. Love that. That's a great one. Our final one is about the leaves. Now, leaves are, we've got that green colour. Green is often associated with new life. You might have little buds and blossom coming. Okay, so I'm going to use the idea of the leaves sprouting out and the words growing on trees. So I'm going to have leaves are dreamy words, sprouting, whispering to me. Yeah? So there we go. There's my poem about the tree, but we're not done yet. This is session or section 2, however you want to do it. You might want to pause here, write your poem together, write it on your own. Words grow on trees from gnarled roots, fingers stretching into the dark, damp earth. I would change that to deep, dark earth, I think. The trunk is sturdy, solid, twisted and cracked like ancient skin. Branches, I think I'm going to change that to branches wave quietly in the hazy sunshine, and I feel like there I want to add in cool breeze. Leaves are dreamy words, sprouting, whispering to me. Maybe whispering to me of a better tomorrow. Something like that. Yeah? Now, it's going to be a bit squashed for me, but I'm going to show you. I'm going to bring you closer. Woo-hoo-hoo. Um, um, the third part of this session from Sue Hardy Dawson, from Sue's idea about the words growing on trees, is to actually turn this into a shape poem. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'll show you. Words grow on trees. I'm going to make the shape of a tree with my words now. Okay, words grow on trees from gnarled roots. Fingers stretching. The good thing about it is that if it goes over, it doesn't matter, because it could just be a part of the tree trunk. I might want to make, actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to make these like roots. So I'm going to have words grow on trees. I'm going to play around with it a little bit. From gnarled roots. Fingers, I'm not going to be able to fit it on, but you get the idea. Fingers stretching into the deep, dank, dark earth. And then I'm going to go, the trunk is sturdy. I'm going to use some capitalization here. Solid. Twisted and cracked. I'm going to play around with my font there a little bit, my text, and cracked like ancient skin. And then I'm going to have some branches. Branches waving quietly. And the good thing is that you can read this however you want, in whatever order. Okay? Branches waving quietly in hazy sunshine. and cool breeze. Leaves are dreamy words. Yeah, so we can actually make our tree using our poem. Okay? I've just done a very rough one there to show you. So part one of Sue Hardy-Dawson's lesson for that words on trees, part one is to get down all your ideas about roots, trunk, branches and leaves. So just write down all your ideas, draw some pictures, go and have a wander around outside, feel the trunk, see what it feels like, draw some leaves maybe. Session two or section two is to think about 4 verses that you can write about the roots, the trunk, the branches, and the leaves. And then our last one is to turn it into a picture and make it look like the shape of a tree. Okay? So there you go. That is our poetry idea for today. Thank you very much to Liz Brownlee and Sue Hardy-Dawson for letting us use that one from the Poetry Roundabout website. But hopefully you've got some ideas. We've had some lovely poems written by Paul Jenkins, Liz Brownlee, Coral Rumble and Neil Zetter. And then we started looking at words grow on trees activity. Okay, when I post this on the Reading Realm website, I will put the link to the Poetry Roundabout blog as well, so you can see this written out in full, all of Sue Hardy-Dawson's ideas. We would love, 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 love to see some of your tree poems, so you can always send them to me, ian@thereadingrealm.co.uk, or you can post them in the Facebook group, or you can tweet them to me at reading_realm. But we would love to see some of your poetry ideas. If you've got time, hop onto the Empathy Lab website and see if you can find out about Empathy Day. And that's it for today. Have you all had a good time? Have you all had a good time? I think I heard a resounding yes, we've loved it. I will see you on Thursday for our quiz. And unfortunately, I don't know whether to say this now or not. Unfortunately, I've decided that next Tuesday is going to be our last one, because I'm getting very, very busy with work again. And you can probably see the tired bags under my eyes. And I've got some secret squirrel projects that I'm having to work on, which are really exciting for me, but it just means that I can't do everything. Okay, but hopefully we'll be able to have fun time on Thursday for our quiz, and then next Tuesday for our last lesson. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the session today. Oscar is upstairs in the study, keeping the husband company. We've both been up there working today. When I say working, I mean I've been working and my husband has been on Zoom chat laughing and not doing much else. But there you go. Yeah, so hopefully you've enjoyed today. We looked at those empathy poems, poems perhaps from different points of view. And then we started to look at Sue Hardy-Dawson's tree idea of words grow on tree. Thank you very much to all the poets that let me use those poems today. Have a great day. Please email me your poetry ideas, anything that you write. We love seeing them. And I'll see you on Thursday for our quiz, and then next Tuesday for our last session. Take care, everyone. See you later. Bye.